While preparing for every episode of this podcast, I make it an effort to refresh my memory on how I feel when I'm out on my bike. Since I had determined I would call this episode Riding in the Rain, well, then I needed to go ride in the rain. So this afternoon, the timing was perfect. Here in Colorado, most afternoons or evenings here in the summertime, a rainstorm will likely be in the area somewhere. I saw on the weather radar that about 30 miles from my home to the north, there was a rainstorm brewing. So, for you, my listening audience, I prepared for my ride. I confirmed that I had all my rain gear, hopped on a Triumph Bonneville in the garage, and I rode toward the storm. The sky turned from sunny to cloudy to almost like dusk, even though the sun wasn't going to set for another couple of hours. I could see the beam of my headlight start to show up on the road. It was getting darker. The temperature dropped at least 10 degrees really quickly. One giant raindrop smacked my full-face helmet, quickly followed by another, then a whole bunch. The wind started gusting, and now the rain fell sideways as my bike had to lean into that northwest wind. Inside my helmet, though, all was well. Comfortable and dry inside my waterproof motorcycle jacket and gloves and pants and boots, I could not have been happier. After just a few minutes in that storm, I found a place in the road to turn around, and all of a sudden I had this tailwind from the northwest. And within just a few minutes, I rode back out of that storm, back into a sunny sky, and the temperature rose again about 10 degrees, back to where it was before. That time I was intentional about chasing down the storm and riding through it. Over the past 50 years, I've ridden through a lot of rainstorms, lots and lots of times. I've found it scary at times, but most of the time I've found it thrilling. Not so with life, though, sometimes, right? Sometimes the storms in our life hit us hard, blindsiding us, completely unprepared, and we find ourselves in total shock. Like with motorcycling, we don't know what's ahead. But maybe we can prepare ourselves for such storms without having to live in fear of the unknown. Let's talk about that. Thank you for joining me today. Recorded in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Welcome to Peace, Love, Moto, the podcast for motorcyclists seeking that peaceful, easy feeling as we cruise through this life together. Are you ready? Let's go. I was on a solo ride through Monument Valley in northern Arizona. I was riding south, coming from a night spent in Moab, Utah, just north of there. In the middle of Monument Valley, you'll find what's called Forrest Gump Point. Yes, from the movie. Check out episode 2 for details about that. There's a lot of space in Monument Valley, and it's beautiful. Just completely amazing out there. It's a tough environment with no shelter for miles, very few trees, and certainly no underpasses to find protection under. You think of things like that when you have a storm ahead of you. A really big storm. Looking ahead down the road, within a couple of miles, there was a solid black wall that was forming, a wall of water. I pulled off the road for a moment to make sure everything on my bike was secure, that my motorcycle jacket was all zipped up and had on my waterproof pants, and I was ready to go. So I did. I proceeded into the storm. First, I felt the temperature drop, just as I described earlier. Then came a light rain. Then came a heavy rain. Then came the lightning. Then came the hail. Yes, nothing I could do but keep riding, watching the road as best that I could. And then, within just a few minutes, the rain completely stopped, and I was in full sun once again. I looked in my rearview mirror, and there, as bright as a painting, was a double rainbow. It was like Mother Nature saying, "Aren't you glad you kept going? And aren't you glad you looked back?" I'm constantly amazed at how many parallels motorcycling has with other things in life. So many pilots say that motorcycling is the nearest thing to flying. Lots of sailors compare motorcycling to moving through the wind and making adjustments with the wind as needed. Yeah, I can see that. Lots of parallels. I think that endurance and perhaps resilience in motorcycling comes with practice too. New riders get tired after a couple of hours in the saddle, typically, where seasoned riders can go day after day after day. Some of that resilience comes with your body adjusting to the demands of riding, but I firmly believe that a large part of that resilience just comes from your mental attitude. Seasoned riders know that the wind will blow, and we will sometimes feel the heat. Sometimes we will feel the cold, and we know sometimes it will rain. It's almost like accepting those challenges as part of a riding experience helps you to deal with them. Stress sometimes on the bike, sure, but a seasoned rider knows that the stress won't last forever. There is so much great riding ahead. If not that day, then maybe the next, or maybe the next. This past week while working in Texas, I met up with a dear friend for dinner, old high school friend. David and I go way back with a friendship that's lasted over 40 years. David and I shared about the good times and the challenging times. David demonstrates that he cares about me not only because he listens to me, and he listens to me complain about life sometimes, but he demonstrates that he cares because he reminds me that yes, Ron, life will be hard sometimes, and there's most certainly rough times ahead, but there's also great times ahead. He reminds me to stop worrying about the future and look around at all the wonderful things all around me. If you don't already have a friend like David, you need to get one. Bad weather beats us up sometimes when we're out for a ride. And so it is with life too. Storms will most certainly come. We can become paralyzed with fear, stay in our shell and stay hunkered down, waiting for the challenging things to happen to us and hopefully they'll go away, or we can accept them as part of life and virtually ride right through them. We ride through them because there is another side to that storm that we can't see yet. And it just may be a double rainbow like that I saw in Monument Valley. Perhaps when you get through your storm, maybe, just maybe, the heavens above will have something amazing to show you. So keep riding. As always, thank you for listening. I wish you peace. I wish you love.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase